Hello, and welcome to another edition of Canadian Immigration Law Updates. My name is Nandi Deterville of Deterville Law Office. In today's updates, I will be discussing the express entry rounds of invitation to apply for permanent residence to Canada that occurred in the last few days, as well as an update regarding the restrictions on travel into Canada as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's get started, shall we? In today's updates, I would like to go through the express entry rounds of invitations to apply that have occurred. First, I will be dealing with the March 31st round of invitations to apply, and then deal with the April 1st round of invitations to apply. In the March 31st round of invitations to apply, that was round 180, there were a total number of 284 invitations issued to candidates in the express entry system who were under the provincial nominee program. And those candidates required a CRS score of a lowest amount of 778. So here we see that the Canadian government has indeed returned to issuing its invitations to apply to candidates who have some additional interest in specific provinces throughout Canada. In many circumstances, persons have actually made specific applications to a province, or the province has shown interest in having that person's skill set for the province, to for them to come into the province and be part of their economy. And so the numbers, the CRS score for that is typically going to be higher. And we see here that it is 778, which shows a very high score indeed. But usually, with a provincial nominee acceptance, candidates in the express entry pool tend to have fairly high numbers in for their CRS score. So this amount, though it seems extremely high, and it is higher than what it has been in the past few months, certainly the highest so far for the year of. Actually, no, it was not the highest. It was the second highest, sorry, score that we've seen in 2021 for the provincial nominee program. Um, the highest being back on January 6th, where the CRS score then was 813. So that 778 CRS score is certainly not unusual with respect to provincial nominee program candidates. In the April 1st round of invitations to apply, being again 181 rounds since the program started, 5,000 invitations to apply were issued to candidates in the express entry system under the Canadian Experience class. In this round, 432 was the CRS score of the lowest ranked candidate invited. This again is a very typical number. The previous Canadian Experience Class round back in March 18th showed a CRS score of 449. So we see here with the April 1st round that the score is fairly similar, if not just slightly below what had previously been selected. So what I am seeing from the previous rounds is that it seems that um, like the Canadian government did with respect to the rounds really early on during the pandemic, is focus on either Canadian Experience Class candidates or provincial nominee candidates in that pool. So it generally leaves out the skilled trades and the federal skilled worker program candidates, and is focusing on maintaining people with closer ties to Canada as a result of that provincial nominee or their Canadian experience. It is certainly something to look at when thinking of an overall immigration plan for people into Canada, showing that perhaps the route into Canada is perhaps through either getting a work permit or a study permit, which would allow you to be in Canada working or studying at a designated learning institution as a path into permanent residence. And it certainly seems to be how the Canadian government is viewing the immigrants that are being allowed to come in under those particular programs. So it's certainly something for people with an overall view or overall plan to move permanently to Canada to consider. And now moving on to the the travel restrictions into Canada. So we see now that the April 21st, 2021 date is still stands for the travel restrictions into Canada as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have here that there have been no updates with relation to what day the restrictions either between Canada and the US or Canada and all other countries would be. Typically speaking, I would expect within the next few days, if not just a week or two, to be given an update in relation to those restriction dates. It will be very unusual if the Canadian government chooses to let those restrictions expire at this point, especially given the level of vaccinations that have occurred in Canada thus far. And so we will be looking closely to see what new dates are applied and how that will affect the ability of our clients to fly into Canada. Right now, there are still those restrictions do require travelers into Canada to obtain a COVID-19 negative test before within 5 days of coming into Canada, as well as once they have entered the country to be tested and be registered with and go into a allocated government quarantine hotel at this time. So those things still stand. April 21st is the expiration of the current restrictions, but it is again not going to be surprising if that date is in fact extended further at this point. Now I would like to go into a really interesting article that I read in the Wall Street Journal, which spoke specifically to Canada looking into immigration as a way to boost its economic recovery coming out of this pandemic. And worldwide, we've seen drops in economies throughout the world of due to the pandemic, shutting businesses down and people losing their jobs. It has always been a well-known fact, rather, that the Canadian economy is sort of boosted by immigration, and that Canadian-born people were on the decline, and in order to increase the economy, increase the population, it has always been a beneficial. The immigration programs into Canada have always been beneficial to the country and overall. So this particular article, which was written back in March 30th of this year, said that that the increasing numbers of immigrants into the country were going to be used as a way to boost the country's economy and recovery from the pandemic, and that there was a plan to that a sharp increase in the numbers of immigrants let in would be beneficial to the country's economy overall. Again, this is great news for those of you who are planning on moving to Canada, whether on a temporary or permanent basis. And that is that you can at least have some plans, whereas you have a certain pathway that you feel that might be beneficial to you. It is always great to speak to clients at the beginning of their immigration journey where there are certain things that they just need clarified. And so we are always so happy to help them guide that path into citizenship eventually. And as I have said in my previous post, it is certainly possible to become a permanent resident to Canada and within a 5-year period to actually become a Canadian citizen. And that is always a very exciting part of our clients' lives. Well, that is all for today. I do hope that what I have said to you today is very helpful. And again, do feel free to contact me at my website at detervillelaw.com to reach out to us. Also, be able to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram or Twitter, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn, where Deterville Law is a page on LinkedIn. We are also available to chat with people on Clubhouse. And again, you can find us on Clubhouse at deterville.law. So that's it for now. And I do hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. Do take care. Bye.